Are you
Man.
really going to fight Tyson?
No doubt. I'm gonna whip his head till it roped like okra.
You know, a lot of guys have said things like that. And it hasn't happened yet.
Mike Tyson and George Foreman, two of the biggest names in boxing history. Both are known for their incredible power, knocking out opponents like it was nothing. For years, it seemed like there was respect between them. But now, something is different. Mike Tyson has finally spoken about George Foreman, and it's not good. His words are strong, and they reveal something most people never expected. What happened between these two legends? Why is Tyson speaking out now? There's more to this story than meets the eye, and it could change everything. What did Tyson say? So, what exactly did Mike Tyson say that has everyone talking? This is where things get really interesting because no one expected Tyson to speak like this about George Foreman. Tyson has always been the type to respect the greats, especially those who came before him. But this time, it felt different. This time, it felt personal. In a recent interview, Tyson was asked about all the what-if matchups, those dream fights that never happened, you know, the ones fans still talk about. And when the topic of George Foreman came up, Tyson didn't hold back. He looked right at the camera, smiled a little, and said, "George wasn't the fighter people think he was. If we fought when we were both in our primes, I would have destroyed him. He was too slow for me. His power meant nothing if he couldn't touch me." Now, just hearing Tyson say those words sent shockwaves through the boxing world. Not because Tyson thinks he could win. I mean, every fighter believes they could beat anyone. That's normal. But it was the way he said it. So direct, so sure of himself. That really surprised everyone. It wasn't playful. It wasn't out of respect. It sounded a little dismissive, almost like Tyson didn't rate Foreman at all. And that's where people started saying, damn, this is bad. Because in boxing, there's an unspoken rule. You don't tear down the legends. You don't disrespect the guys who paved the way. No matter how good you think you are or were, there's always a certain level of respect you keep. Tyson breaking that rule? That hit differently. It's not like he said George was overrated once and moved on. He doubled down, adding, "People always talk about his power. But what good is power if you're too slow to land it? I would have slipped those punches all day. He was built for guys who stood in front of him. I wasn't that guy." And that right there? That's where a lot of people felt Tyson crossed a line. Because George Foreman wasn't just any heavyweight. He was the heavyweight for a while. And hearing Tyson speak like that, it just rubbed people the wrong way. Tyson versus Foreman. The dream match analysis. Now, let's just stop for a second and really think about this dream fight. Tyson versus Foreman. Prime for prime. If it ever happened, it would have been one of the biggest fights in boxing history. Two of the most feared heavyweights ever. Both with knockout power. Both with totally different styles. Tyson, in his prime, was a monster. He was fast, explosive, and had insane head movement. The way he'd bob and weave, slip punches, and then explode with a combo, man, it was scary. He'd knock guys out before they even knew what hit them. That peekaboo style, those short hooks and uppercuts, and the way he'd close the distance so fast, it was like watching a wrecking ball with speed. On the other hand, you had George Foreman. Big George. A man who didn't need speed because his power was just ridiculous. Every punch he threw felt like it could end someone's life. He didn't need to throw fast combos because one punch was all it took. And not just against anyone. He destroyed legends like Joe Frazier. Knocked him down 6 times. 6 times. That's not normal power. That's once-in-a-lifetime power. But here's where the real debate starts. Would Tyson really destroy Foreman like he claimed? A lot of boxing experts over the years have argued about this. Some say Tyson's speed and aggression would be too much. Others believe Foreman's size, power, and durability would wear Tyson down. If you look at Tyson's career, he did struggle against bigger, stronger guys who could take his punches. Fighters like Buster Douglas and Lennox Lewis showed that if you survive Tyson's early storm, you can beat him. And George? George was made for surviving storms. That man took shots from Ken Norton, Ron Lyle, and even came back in his 40s to fight guys half his age. Plus, Foreman was known for cutting off the ring. He wasn't just a power puncher. He was smart. He knew how to trap fighters, wear them down, and then boom, good night. Now imagine Tyson coming at him with full speed. Sure, Tyson could land. But if George lands just once, would Tyson survive that? That's the real question. And honestly, no one knows the answer because it never happened. But the debate is wild. You go on Reddit, on boxing forums, even YouTube comment sections, people go crazy talking about this. Some fans say Tyson would be too quick. Foreman would never catch him. Others argue Foreman's chin and power were too much. Tyson fades if he can't finish early. And honestly, both sides have a point. That's why this fight lives rent-free in every boxing fan's head. Why is Tyson speaking out now? But the real question is, why now? Why did Tyson suddenly decide to talk about George Foreman like this? Tyson's been retired for years. He's been doing his podcast, his weed business, his TV appearances. So, what made him bring up Foreman? Some people think he's just being honest now. Tyson's older. He doesn't care about sugarcoating things anymore. Maybe he feels free to speak his mind, no matter how people take it. Others believe it's just Tyson being Tyson. Controversial, raw, and unfiltered. That's who he is. That's who he's always been. But there's also the idea that Tyson is building hype for something. Maybe a new project, maybe a documentary, or maybe he's just trying to stay in the headlines. After all, when Tyson talks, people listen. Especially when he's talking about another legend like George Foreman. And let's not forget, Tyson has a history of changing his views. One day he says one thing. A few months later, he says the complete opposite. That's just how he is. He's emotional. He's unpredictable. And maybe, just maybe, this was one of those moments where he just said what was on his mind without thinking about the fallout. Foreman's response or past comments on Tyson. Now the big question is, how did George Foreman react? Or has he said anything about Tyson before? Because if you know George, you know he's not the type to clap back. He's always been respectful. Always carried himself like a gentleman. In the past, Foreman has actually praised Tyson. He once said in an interview, "Mike was the most explosive heavyweight I've ever seen, but he didn't have the chin to deal with real power." And honestly, that's classic George. Giving credit where it's due, but also keeping it real. Foreman always believed that styles make fights. And he's been on record saying that Tyson's style wouldn't have worked against him. Not because Tyson wasn't great, but because George just knew how to handle aggressive fighters. Fighters like Frazier, who came forward and got caught. But would Foreman respond to Tyson's recent comments? Probably not. That's not who George is. He's a preacher now. He's about peace, family, and selling grills. The man made more money off his grill than his whole boxing career. Why would he bother with trash talk now? But still, you know he heard it. You know someone showed him what Tyson said. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere deep down, it stung a little. Not because George cares about what people think, but because coming from a fellow legend, that hits different. At the end of the day, this whole thing shows one thing. These legends, even after all these years, still have that fire in them. Tyson still sees himself as the baddest man on the planet. Foreman, in his own quiet way, probably still knows what he was capable of. And honestly, that's what makes boxing great. These dream matchups, these what-if moments, they keep the sport alive. They keep the debates going. Tyson versus Foreman is one of those fights that will forever live in the minds of fans. And maybe that's why Tyson said what he said. To remind everyone that even legends still wonder. What if? Mike Tyson's words about George Foreman have definitely raised some eyebrows. This isn't just another story. It's a glimpse into the thoughts of one of boxing's greatest champions. What happens next? Only time will tell. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any updates on the world of boxing. And let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Tyson is right? Or is there more to the story? Stay tuned for more.
Oh, man. I'm just like you. You don't think I'm scared of those public schools for my kids because I experienced that stuff? You don't think you think I want somebody to throw some lie acid in my kid's face? No, but if they didn't have that opportunity, I would want them to be in public school.
Mike Tyson showed up in Brooklyn, looking for a bullied kid whose mother had asked for his help, and ended up teaching his bullies a lesson they would never forget. Nick Stone, A 13-year-old boy sat in the classroom drawing a boxing glove in his book while the teacher taught. Suddenly, the teacher approached Nick, who was engrossed with the drawing. "Drawing again?" the teacher asked, taking the book and showing it to the class as he asked if they were in an art class. Everyone screamed no, and Justin, the bully, shouted, "He wants to make Mike Tyson a boxing glove, but he can't throw a punch." The whole class laughed at Justin's words and everywhere became disorganized. The teacher asked the students to sit down and told Nick to focus on what he was teaching. The class soon ended, and at break time, Justin walked to Nick with two of his friends and asked to see the picture of the gloves. Nick was quiet as he knew that this was likely to lead to a fight, and he was scared of fighting. "Give me the book," Justin shouted as he did something heartbreaking. Justin and his friends took Nick's bag, opened it, threw all the items on the floor, and stepped on them as Justin told Nick, "You are a worthless being who can never amount to anything." Nick didn't say a word as they left. Justin was one of the most popular kids in the school, as he was handsome, played basketball, and was tall, unlike Nick, who was seen as a nerd who kept to himself and was mocked for his short stature. That was why Justin nicknamed him Short Nick. After Justin left, Nick picked up his items on the floor as his phone beeped. It was a notification on Mike Tyson. Nick checked it, and a video of Mike Tyson played. "Hey guys, how are you doing? Who's excited to see me in Brooklyn on the 27th of November? We are having an exciting exhibition, and I will be there. I hope to see you there." Mike Tyson was coming to town in the next 2 days. Nick was happy as he thought of showing Mike Tyson his prized invention, a smart boxing glove he had been working on for the past 2 years. It wasn't perfect yet, as he still had some tweaks to work on, but Nick was hoping that Mike Tyson would love it and wear it for one of his training. The break was soon over, and everyone came back to the class, but the teacher didn't come to class on time, so Nick watched an old video of Mike Tyson's fight. Suddenly, Justin walked to Justin and took his phone. "Hand it over," Nick said as he stood up, but Justin threw the phone to a friend. The other students watched them as Nick went over to the other friend, who then threw the phone back to Justin. Justin looked at the phone and saw the video of Mike Tyson and showed the whole class. "Guys, Short Nick thinks he can be the next Mike Tyson." The whole class burst out in laughter. Feeling embarrassed, Nick went to Justin, who was taller than him. "Hand me my phone," he shouted. The whole class went quiet as no one had expected such an outburst from Nick. He was always the calm one, allowing bullies like Justin to push him around without being able to speak up. But maybe today he was going to do something. Justin looked down at the Short Nick and raised the phone. "If you can take the phone from my hand, I'll give it to you. Or maybe you can punch me like Mike Tyson and get the phone," Justin said as the whole class laughed. Nick didn't know what to do as Justin moved backward and drew up his hands to his face. "Let's have this, Nick. You are a Mike Tyson fan, right? There's no way you shouldn't be able to throw a punch." Nick was tired of everything that was happening. For over 2 years since he transferred to St. Anne High School, he had to deal with Justin every day. He tried to avoid him, but Justin always showed up in his face as he enjoyed taunting Nick. He was a bully, but Nick was just a humble boy who was trying to stay out of trouble. "Come on, let's fight Short Nick," Justin said. But the physics teacher, Mrs. Rachel, entered the class. "What's going on here?" she asked as everyone went back to their seats and Justin gave Nick his phone. Mrs. Rachel was one of the teachers who loved Nick and appreciated his love for engineering. Today, Mrs. Rachel reminded them of the upcoming science fair. They had just 2 days to go, and she urged them to participate as some reputable people were going to be attending, and the top innovative ideas were going to earn prizes. Nick listened to Mrs. Rachel attentively as she pointed at him. "Nick, I am hoping you'll do something remarkable this time." Nick didn't say anything as the class turned their attention to him as someone said, "Maybe he will make something that will make him taller than Mike Tyson." The class laughed at the remark. "And maybe you'll make something that will make you shorter," Mrs. Rachel said, and the class laughed out loud. Getting home, Nick looked at his room filled with unfinished projects and engineering tools. Mike Tyson was coming to town, and the smart boxing gloves he was working on still needed some more adjustment and fine-tuning for it to be completed. Nick walked towards his most prized project, Tyson's Power Gloves, which could monitor a punch force, velocity, and impact distribution while still protecting the hands of the wearer. Nick had named his prized invention after Mike Tyson's famous super punch. Nick had always been fascinated by Mike Tyson. As a young boy, he and his father watched almost all of Tyson matches. His father described Mike as a strong force who had risen from grass to grace because of his resilience. Despite failing, he still picked himself up and to greatness. Nick's father had fueled the desire for the love of Tyson in his son. However, tragedy hit them. Nick's father died after a brief illness, but his words on Mike Tyson stayed with Nick as he grew up. You can achieve greatness in life if you believe in yourself, just like Mike Tyson did. Don't let your past or background define you. Determined, Nick began to pay more attention to engineering and mechanics. He loved how they worked with tools, creating new inventions, and he also began to play with all sorts of odd items like broken gadgets, scraps of wires, discarded circuit boards, motherboards, and microchips. Eventually, Nick began to fix items and invent small devices, but he wanted to do something special that could be dedicated to his father. Suddenly, an idea struck his mind. He was going to make a smart boxing glove in honor of his father's love for Mike Tyson. Nick began to gather scarps again, talking to his teachers while watching videos online, and researching how to make his invention a reality. After months of gathering information, he was finally able to reset the skeleton of the power gloves. Although it wasn't as perfect as he wanted, as it needed some advanced sensors and stronger materials that weren't within his reach. But this was a start for him, as he knew that with the right tools, the gloves would function better. However, the glove was missing a vital microcontroller that could synchronize its main function of tracking the velocity and force of a punch. Nick sighed as he held the power glove in his hands. He could present this at the science fair, but then he thought about Justin and the others. They were going to laugh at him if he did this, and he would forever be tagged a weirdo. But was Nick going to allow them to stop him from participating in the science fair? The next day at school was tough for Nick, as Justin kept mocking him. "You are going to participate in the science fair, right? I bet you'll bring the gloves you've been hiding all your life. But guess what? You'll fail. Loser." Nick, hurt, ignored Justin's words. Later, Mrs. Rachel called Nick and asked if he was going to present something at the science fair, but he said he wasn't sure. "Why? You've always said you'll present those magical gloves at the perfect time. Now is the perfect time, Nick. You might even get a scholarship to study at a prestigious university." Nick wasn't feeling too confident in himself. Mrs. Rachel, however, encouraged him and told him to bring the Mike Tyson boxing gloves so she could offer some tips. That night, Nick stayed awake working on the boxing gloves. Helena, his mother, checked on him at 2 a.m. and saw he was busy. "You're going to present it at the science fair?" She asked him, and he told her yes. "But I'm not feeling like doing it, Mum. I'm just down, and I feel odd amongst my peers, Mum. Maybe I shouldn't do this." Helena was surprised to hear this from her son. She asked him if anything was wrong in school, but he said everything was fine. Nick didn't tell his mum about Justin. Helena, however, encouraged him, saying, "You are not odd, son. You are special, and it's about time the world saw you. Don't keep hiding in this room with all these beautiful inventions, son. Go out there and shine bright, my son, 'cause you are a star." Motivated, Nick decided he was going to participate in the fair. The following day, Nick took his gloves to school, planning to show Mrs. Rachel, but to his dismay, she wasn't in school. It was unlike her, as she always arrived early before most teachers. Nick clutched his school bag tightly as he thought about what he was going to do now. He had planned to give her the gloves while he went to class, as he was scared of it falling into the hands of Justin. What was he going to do now? Scared, Justin decided to keep his invention in his school locker. It was going to be safe there, or so he thought. Justin kept the gloves in the locker with his heart breaking fast. In class, Nick was quiet, with all his thoughts racing to the boxing gloves in his locker. He asked himself if he had done the right thing by keeping them there. As he thought about this, Justin approached him and sat on his table. "Nick, you are not going to participate in the science fair, okay? If you do, you'll be shocked at what I do to you," Justin said, and left. Nick was surprised to hear Justin asking him not to participate. At closing, Nick checked Mrs. Rachel's office again, but she wasn't in school. So he went home, however. Something unexpected happened on the way home. Justin and his two friends ambushed Nick on the way home, encircling him. "You won't participate in the fair, Nick," Justin yelled, pushing him to the floor. Nick stayed on the floor, breathing fast as he said, "I won't participate in the science fair." Justin nodded his head. "Good boy, stay at home tomorrow, okay? Don't come to school or I will make your life miserable," Justin warned him. Nick watched them away as he took heavy breaths. Suddenly, it dawned on him. Justin was scared of him and intimidated that Nick's Tyson boxing gloves were better than his project. "I am going to present my boxing gloves. I won't be intimidated by Justin," Nick said, and went home happily. At home, Justin hugged his mom, who was about to leave for work, as she was on the afternoon shift in the hospital. He also told her of his decision to present the gloves. Helena was happy to hear this as she kissed his forehead and left. Nick went to his room to prepare for the fair, but he was shocked by what he saw in his bag. It was a heartbreaking moment for him. "No!" Nick screamed as he opened his bag and saw his Tyson gloves broken. "No! No!" Tyson screamed out as tears rolled down his eyes as he tried to fix his invention. He ran to his scrap bag, searching for something to fix it. He couldn't believe this was happening to him. Holding a screwdriver, he tried to fix the gloves, but the damage was far beyond repair. "Work!" he screamed out, frustrated, as he threw the Tyson power glove to the floor. He watched as it broke into pieces. What had he done? Realizing he had destroyed his life work because of the bully called Justin. Nick screamed out Justin's name as he sobbed. Suddenly, Nick did something unexpected. He took all of his inventions, tools, and scraps and threw them out of the window. He was done with engineering. Helena returned home the next morning and was shocked to see that her son had thrown all his stuff outside. "What was happening?" she asked as she headed to Nick's room. Nick was on the bed with eyes red and swollen. "What's wrong, darling?" she asked him as the whole room was empty. "Talk to me, please," Helena pleaded with her son. For the first time, Justin told his mother about how he was bullied in school by Justin, how Justin had made him ruin his invention, and how he couldn't fix it. Nick sobbed in his mom's arms. The science fair was an opportunity for him to shine in the school and fix the way people saw him, but he had lost the chance. Helena tried to make him present another invention, but Nick was done. He wasn't making any invention anymore. He told his mother he was going to be an artist instead. Maybe he'd gain fame from being a short man. "Short Nick," he said in tears, as he sobbed in his mother's arms and his phone beeped. It was a notification from Mike Tyson announcing that he was coming to the St. Anne's Science Fair for their exhibition. Nick showed his mother the notification. "This was meant to be my opportunity, Mom," he sobbed and ran out of the house. Helena sobbed out as she ran after him. Her son shouldn't be going through all of this. She wanted to help him, but she didn't know what to do. But then something came to her mind. Helena logged onto Twitter and wrote a message to Mike Tyson. "Hello, Mike. My son Nick is a young, brilliant engineer who's loved you from a young age. He designed a boxing glove in honor of you, and he wanted to present it in St. Anne's Science Fair. But he had been bullied in school, and this has led to his project being destroyed. Now he no longer wants to do sciences again. As he's lost hope, I wish you'd send him some inspiring words to him. Below is the picture of the boxing gloves, and here's my address." Was Tyson going to reply? The next morning, Nick returned home. Helena hugged him happily as they heard the doorbell. Helena walked to open the door, and Mike Tyson stepped into the house. "Hello, Helen," and I'm guessing that must be Nick. Neither Helena nor Nick could say a word as they couldn't believe their eyes. Mike Tyson was in their living room. He asked if he could sit down as Helena nodded and he sat. "Are you the young innovator?" Tyson asked. "Yes," Nick stammered, and Tyson asked him to show him the boxing gloves. Helena nodded her head to Nick and pointed upstairs. Nick ran up to his room and saw his prized invention and all his other inventions in the room. His mother had returned them. Tyson followed Nick behind to his room, and he was impressed by everything. Tyson walked towards the boxing glove. "It's not yet fixed perfectly," Nick said as he gave Tyson the gloves. "Tell me about it," Tyson said, and Nick told him about how his father had fueled his desire to make the gloves. Tyson was impressed by what Nick had done. "This is the future of boxing. This is so innovative, Nick. You have to present this tomorrow." Nick wanted to come up with an excuse for how badly damaged the gloves were, but Tyson told him, "You can do whatever you put your mind to, Nick, and I understand how you're feeling, as I've been there, feeling like the whole world is against me. But Nick, you see these bullies, these people who talk down on you. They're jealous of you. They're scared of the great giant they see inside of you, so they talk you down. But you have to close your ears to them and focus on what's important. Focus on your ideas, on your dreams, and don't let anyone take them away. The world needs people like you, Nick. We haven't gotten enough inventors, and until you see yourself out there doing what you love doing the most, don't stop pushing and chasing your dreams. But Tyson wasn't done as he called his friend, who was an engineer, and asked him to provide Nick with everything he needed to bring his power gloves back to life. Everything was happening like a movie as Nick got the materials he needed to fix the Tyson power gloves. The next day was the science fair. A lot of students stood at their booths with their creative innovations, including Justin. But there was someone else at the far end who had a long queue of people who wanted to try his invention. It was no other person but Nick Stone with his Tyson boxing gloves. Justin and the other students stared at the long queue of people at Nick's booth. While this was going on, Tyson walked up to Justin, who was by his booth. "Oh my God. Sir, it's an honor. Let me tell you about my invention, sir," Justin said. But Mike stopped him as he told him he had heard about what he did to Nick, and it was so disappointing that he chose to be a bully instead of focusing on his life and choosing a path which would lead to success. "I've seen a lot of bullies, Justin, and guess what? They end up as losers and finally end up in jail because they are always looking for trouble. I bet you don't want to end up in jail. It's not a good place to be, Justin. Focus on your education and be an inspiration to people instead of tearing them down. I hope you make better choices," Tyson said, and he left as Justin thought about Tyson's words. And then the moment everyone had been waiting for happened. The results were announced, and Nick was declared as the winner. But that wasn't all. Mike Tyson also announced that he would sponsor Nick's education at one of the best colleges in the US, where he would be mentored by engineers who would support him and teach him on bringing his ideas to life. Everyone clapped for Nick, including Justin, who walked up to him at the end of the science fair and apologized to him for bullying him all these years, admitting that he was intimidated by Nick's abilities. Nick couldn't believe his ears. He had done it, thanks to Mike Tyson, who showed up for him at his lowest point and motivated him to keep chasing after his dreams. Today, Nick is studying mechatronic engineering at Kent State University. What do you think of Mike Tyson's response to the bullied boy?
And that led me to a little bit of reading and stuff. And as a friend of Nicole Kidman, I got to know Tom Cruise quite well.
Yeah.
And I was in the video store, and there was like a $2.50 on sale special video on Scientology.
For years, Tom Cruise has been Hollywood's golden boy, but now some of his biggest co-stars are breaking their silence, and the truth is shocking. Russell Crowe, Brad Pitt, and Val Kilmer have all opened up about their behind-the-scenes experiences with the superstar, revealing the tension, rivalry, and frustration that simmered during filming. From Cruise's controlling nature to clashes on set, this inside look will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about the man behind Maverick. Get ready for the drama. Russell Crowe's frustration with Cruise's control. When Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise teamed up for The Mummy in 2017, fans were excited to see these two powerhouse actors share the screen. But what really went on behind the scenes was a lot more complicated than anyone could have imagined. While the movie was expected to launch a new Hollywood franchise, it ended up being a disaster at the box office, and much of the tension can be traced back to one key issue: Cruise's intense need for control. So, what happened on set that caused this clash between two of Hollywood's biggest stars? Was it Cruise's obsessive perfectionism? Or did Crowe feel like he was being sidelined by the constant pressure from Cruise's vision for the film? Cruise, known for his hands-on approach to his projects, is notorious for taking control of almost every aspect of his films, from script changes to post-production decisions. On The Mummy, his perfectionist streak went into overdrive, leaving Crowe feeling frustrated and unheard. The actor, who's famous for his straightforward approach and no-nonsense attitude, reportedly clashed with Cruise over the direction of the movie. Crowe, a seasoned actor, didn't appreciate how Cruise's control over the film stifled the creative process. There was little room left for collaboration or input from anyone else, and Crowe wasn't the only one who felt it. One of the most significant points of tension came from how the characters were handled. Crowe, who played Dr. Henry Jekyll, was reportedly upset about how his role was underdeveloped and overshadowed by Cruise's character. It's said that Crowe began to feel his character wasn't necessary to the plot, and his frustration only grew as the film's production continued. Was Cruise's overpowering presence on set the reason the film couldn't reach its full potential? The real drama, however, seemed to spill out in their physical fight scenes, some of which reportedly took days to film. These intense moments on screen were said to be fueled by real-life frustrations, with insiders claiming that the actors used their fight sequences as a way to blow off steam. But even as tensions boiled over, both actors managed to maintain a professional appearance in public. So, what went wrong? Was it Cruz's obsessive control that ruined the collaboration? Or did Crowe simply not mesh with Cruz's working style? Whatever the reason, The Mummy became one of Hollywood's cautionary tales of how star power and control can sometimes do more harm than good. Creative tensions on The Mummy set. The time Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe joined forces for The Mummy in 2017, many expected a thrilling adventure that would set the stage for a new cinematic universe. Instead, behind the scenes, there were simmering tensions that would ultimately contribute to the film's box office failure. What caused these creative tensions between two of Hollywood's biggest stars? Was it just a clash of egos? Or was there something deeper at play that made the set so fraught? Cruise, known for his intense dedication and perfectionist approach to filmmaking, had a significant amount of control over the project. He was involved in almost every aspect, from the script to the marketing strategy, and his desire for complete creative authority led to a highly charged atmosphere. For someone like Russell Crowe, who is known for being straightforward and unafraid to speak his mind, this level of control was frustrating. Crowe had his own vision for the character of Dr. Henry Jekyll, but Cruise's heavy hand seemed to overshadow everything. It wasn't just the creative control that caused friction, it was the lack of collaboration. As Cruise pushed for his vision to dominate the film, Crowe reportedly felt sidelined. His role as Dr. Jekyll, meant to be one of the movie's key components, started to feel unnecessary. Crowe was frustrated that his character wasn't being given the space to develop, and that led to tension between him and Cruise. Was Cruise's obsession with perfectionism really the reason Crowe felt like an afterthought? But it wasn't just Crowe who felt the strain. The entire production was reportedly marred by creative differences. With so many changes and constant micromanaging, the crew and other cast members also felt the pressure. The team's efforts to make the film an exciting reboot were constantly being reshaped by Cruise's vision. Was this micromanagement the reason The Mummy didn't land with audiences? Could a more collaborative effort have led to a more successful movie? While both actors maintained professionalism in public, behind closed doors, their disagreements were apparent. As The Mummy floundered, many wondered if these creative tensions contributed to the film's lackluster reception. Would these two stars ever team up again? And could The Mummy have been different if the creative process had been handled differently? Only time will tell if Hollywood will see another collaboration like this one. Crowe's loyalty to Nicole Kidman. Russell Crowe's friendship with Nicole Kidman has been one of Hollywood's most enduring and supportive relationships. However, when Kidman's marriage to Tom Cruise fell apart, Crowe's loyalty to his close friend caused a rift between him and Cruise. But what led to Crowe's unwavering support for Kidman? Was it just about standing by a friend in a tough time, or was there more to it? Could this loyalty have led to a permanent fracture in his relationship with Cruise? When Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's divorce shocked the world in 2001, many speculated about the reasons behind the split. Crowe, who had been close to both Cruise and Kidman during their marriage, found himself caught in the middle. As Kidman was blindsided by the divorce, Crowe became a pillar of support for her. The two shared a deep bond that transcended Hollywood's glittering social circles. Crowe, known for his no-nonsense attitude and fierce loyalty, was determined to stand by Kidman, despite the fallout it might cause with Cruise. What made Crowe's support so significant was the nature of his relationship with Cruise. The two had shared a friendship before, but when Crowe chose to stand by Kidman, it caused a fracture between them. In interviews, Crowe admitted that he went with Nicole after the split, almost jokingly saying he was part of the divorce settlement package. For Crowe, his loyalty to Kidman was a matter of principle, and he didn't want to abandon her during such a painful period. But did his decision to side with her ultimately mean the end of his friendship with Cruise? Over the years, the tension between Crowe and Cruise became more apparent, especially when the two worked together on The Mummy in 2017. While their professional relationship was strained, Crowe's loyalty to Kidman remained unchanged. In fact, it seems to have only strengthened over time. Crow's loyalty to Kidman wasn't just about supporting her during a tough breakup. It was about standing by a longtime friend, no matter what the cost. Could Crow's fierce loyalty have been the reason his bond with Cruz was never fully repaired? And will the fallout from their personal lives continue to affect their professional collaborations in the future? What's clear is that Crow's commitment to Kidman was unwavering, and it had a lasting impact on his relationship with one of Hollywood's most famous stars. Brad Pitt's clashes with Cruz on Interview with the Vampire. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise may have shared the screen in the iconic Interview with the Vampire. But behind the scenes, their relationship wasn't as harmonious as their on-screen chemistry. What really went down between the two megastars during the filming of this 1994 Gothic classic? Was it a clash of personalities? Or did their differences in work ethic cause the tension? Could this have been the beginning of Brad Pitt's long-standing frustration with Cruise? When Brad Pitt was cast alongside Tom Cruise in Interview with the Vampire, it was seen as a dream pairing. Two of Hollywood's biggest names, playing iconic literary characters in a film directed by Neil Jordan. But as the cameras rolled, cracks began to form in their relationship. According to multiple reports, the two actors clashed not just over the material, but also over their differing approaches to their craft. Tom Cruise, known for his intense perfectionism, was all about control. He had a reputation for being deeply involved in every aspect of his films, from script changes to set details. Brad Pitt, on the other hand, was more laid back and didn't share the same need for micromanagement. As the production went on, Pitt reportedly grew frustrated with Cruise's demanding nature, particularly in scenes that involved their characters' complex relationship. Pitt, who had already established himself as a major star by the early 90s, didn't appreciate Cruise's dominance on set. Sources close to the film suggest that while Pitt was more relaxed in his approach, Cruise pushed for perfection in every scene, which led to tension between the two. Was Cruise's drive for excellence rubbing Pitt the wrong way, or was there something deeper at play? Did their competitive personalities clash more than anyone realized? Despite their differences, both actors remained professional during the filming, but it was clear that their on-set tension had a long-lasting effect on their relationship. Some even wonder if this experience influenced their future collaborations, or lack thereof. Could their clash on Interview with the Vampire have been the beginning of a long-standing rivalry? Was this the turning point that made Pitt wary of working with Cruise again? Their uneasy partnership on set shows that even Hollywood's brightest stars aren't immune to clashes. Could this tension have shaped the rest of their careers? Pitt found Cruise's competitive nature exhausting. Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise are two of Hollywood's biggest stars, but their personalities couldn't be more different. While both are known for their dedication and intensity, it was Tom Cruise's hyper-competitive nature that Brad Pitt reportedly found exhausting. Was Cruise's constant drive for perfection too much for Pitt to handle? Did their contrasting personalities create more drama than the audience ever knew? From the moment they were cast together in Interview with the Vampire, their different approaches to their craft became clear. Cruise, known for his meticulous attention to detail and his almost obsessive desire to control every aspect of the film, clashed with Pitt's more relaxed, go-with-the-flow attitude. While Cruise would push for endless takes and insist on perfecting every scene, Pitt found this approach draining and unnecessary. For someone like Pitt, who preferred to let the performance come naturally, Cruise's perfectionism was a heavy burden on the set. What made things more difficult was Cruise's intense competitiveness. Not only was he obsessed with ensuring his own performance was flawless, but he also had a tendency to compete with his co-stars in every scene. According to reports, this over-the-top drive to be the best caused a rift between the two actors. Pitt, who had been building his own career at the time, wasn't used to that kind of pressure. His more laid-back demeanor didn't mesh well with Cruise's demand for constant, exhausting excellence. Did Cruise's drive for perfection make working with him a nightmare for his co-stars? Was his competitiveness the true cause of the tension between him and Pitt? These are questions many fans have wondered about over the years. Despite their professionalism, it was clear that Pitt didn't appreciate Cruise's need to be the top dog at all times. This tension undoubtedly contributed to their somewhat awkward on-set dynamic. In the end, while both actors delivered memorable performances in Interview with the Vampire, their working relationship was far from perfect. Was Pitt's exhaustion with Cruz's competitive nature a major factor in their uneasy partnership? Could this clash have shaped their future collaborations, or lack thereof? One thing is clear, not even the most famous of Hollywood stars are immune to personality clashes that can make or break a relationship. Val Kilmer's respect for Cruz. Despite rivalry, Val Kilmer and Tom Cruise might not always have seen eye to eye, but despite their rivalry, Kilmer has always respected Cruz as a professional. Their relationship, marked by tension and competition, didn't stop Kilmer from acknowledging Cruz's dedication to his craft. Could their rivalry have been more about mutual respect than anything else? Was their tension just a part of the intense Hollywood environment? Or did Kilmer genuinely admire Cruz beneath the surface? When Kilmer and Cruz starred together in the iconic Top Gun back in 1986, they were both on the rise in Hollywood. While Kilmer played the charming but cocky Iceman, Cruz was already becoming a household name as Maverick. Behind the scenes, however, the two actors were known for having a tense relationship. Their personalities were quite different. Cruz's energy and drive for perfection clashed with Kilmer's more laid-back, independent attitude. Rumors of rivalry surfaced, and many speculated that the two didn't get along well on set. Yet, despite all the talk of conflict, Kilmer has never been shy about admitting his admiration for Cruz's work ethic and talent. In interviews, Kilmer has praised Cruz for his commitment to his roles and his dedication to filmmaking. Kilmer has also recognized that their differing approaches to acting and filmmaking were just a product of their individual personalities, rather than a reason for dislike. In fact, Kilmer has said that working with Cruz on Top Gun was a valuable experience, even if the rivalry between their characters mirrored the tension that sometimes existed between them off-screen. Does Kilmer's respect for Cruz reveal that their rivalry was overblown? Did their professional differences only fuel the respect they had for each other's craft? The fact that both actors became huge stars in their own right only added to the complexity of their relationship. Despite the competition, Kilmer respected Cruz's ability to make himself a force in Hollywood. Over the years, their relationship seems to have softened, with Kilmer showing genuine appreciation for Cruz's accomplishments, even as their careers have evolved in different directions. The question remains, was their rivalry a mere product of Hollywood pressures? Or was there a deeper sense of respect between these two legends? One thing is clear, Kilmer's ability to separate personal rivalry from professional respect has earned him recognition as a true actor's actor. Intense on-screen rivalries reflect real-life tensions. Hollywood has always been known for creating thrilling on-screen rivalries, but sometimes those heated battles go beyond the big screen. What happens when the intense competition between characters mirrors real-life tensions? Can actors truly separate their professional conflicts from their personal ones? Or does the line blur? Is it possible that some of Hollywood's most famous on-screen feuds were fueled by real-life animosities? Take, for example, the well-documented rivalry between Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer during the making of Top Gun. On screen, they played rival fighter pilots, Maverick and Iceman, engaged in a battle for dominance. Their characters could hardly stand each other, and the audience loved it. But behind the scenes, it was rumored that the tension between them wasn't just for show. Their competing personalities led to a real-life clash that left many wondering how much of their on-screen animosity was drawn from their personal differences. Similarly, the relationship between Russell Crowe and Tom Cruise on the set of The Mummy in 2017 was anything but friendly. Crowe, known for his no-nonsense attitude, reportedly grew frustrated with Cruise's perfectionist behavior. While Cruise pushed for complete control over the film's direction, Crowe struggled to keep up with the pressure. Their on-screen collaboration became strained, and many wondered if the creative tensions were a direct result of their personal disagreements. Was Crowe's frustration with Cruise more about their personalities than the roles they were playing? In both cases, the on-screen drama took on a life of its own, blurring the lines between fiction and reality. While many actors can switch off their rivalry once the cameras stop rolling, others struggle to separate the two. The pressure of working in such a high-stakes industry can intensify these feelings. So, what happens when the characters you play begin to reflect the personal tensions you feel? Are the intense battles we see in films a reflection of real emotions, or are they simply a product of professional competition? When looking at these iconic on-screen rivalries, it's hard not to wonder, how many of Hollywood's greatest feuds were simply scripted moments that ended up revealing more about the actors than anyone could have anticipated? Scientology's influence on personal and professional relationships. Tom Cruise's strong connection to Scientology has long been a topic of fascination, but how much has it really influenced his personal and professional relationships? Is it possible that Scientology has shaped not just his career, but also the way he interacts with friends, family, and even co-stars? Could this controversial religion be behind some of the most talked-about moments in Cruise's life, including his high-profile marriages and Hollywood feuds? Cruise has long been one of the most outspoken celebrities about his faith, which has sparked both admiration and criticism. His involvement with Scientology has often been linked to his personal relationships, most notably his marriages to actresses Nicole Kidman and Katie Holmes. When Cruise and Kidman divorced in 2001, rumors swirled that Scientology played a role. Kidman, who had been introduced to the religion by Cruise, reportedly began distancing herself from the church, which allegedly led to tension in their marriage. Some even speculated that Scientology encouraged Cruise to end his marriage, viewing Kidman as a threat to his devotion. While these claims have never been confirmed, they continue to fuel speculation about how the church influenced his personal decisions. But it's not just his romantic relationships that have been affected by Scientology. Cruise's professional relationships with co-stars have also been impacted by his strong ties to the church. For instance, Russell Crowe has publicly denied rumors that Cruise tried to recruit him into Scientology. But it's hard to ignore the potential discomfort some actors may feel working alongside someone so closely connected to the controversial religion. It's even been reported that some Hollywood insiders avoid doing business with Cruise due to his unwavering support for Scientology, especially when it comes to production companies with ties to the church. Even outside of the entertainment industry, Scientology's grip on Cruise's life has sparked debates. His public support of the religion has led some to question his decisions, both in his personal life and career. Could Scientology's influence have caused him to alienate loved ones or make career choices that ultimately led to backlash? And what happens when someone's faith becomes a public spectacle? Does it change how the world sees them? When it comes to Tom Cruise, the impact of Scientology on his personal and professional life remains a mystery for many. But one thing's for sure, it's left an indelible mark on both. Cruise's reputation for perfectionism. Tom Cruise is famous for many things: his daredevil stunts, his blockbuster movies, and of course, his legendary perfectionism. But is his relentless pursuit of perfection what truly makes him stand out? Or is it causing tension behind the scenes? Could Cruise's obsession with getting every detail just right actually be sabotaging his relationships with co-stars and crew members? Cruise's reputation for perfectionism is no secret. From the moment he steps onto set, it's clear that nothing is left to chance. Whether it's performing his own death-defying stunts in Mission Impossible or meticulously overseeing every aspect of his films, Cruise demands nothing less than the best. It's this drive that has helped him build an incredible career, making him one of Hollywood's most successful and bankable stars. But, as with any extreme trait, there's a flip side. Many of his co-stars and colleagues have shared stories of how Cruise's perfectionism can be exhausting. His desire for everything to be flawless often leads to intense pressure on set, and not everyone is a fan of his highly involved approach. For example, during the filming of The Mummy in 2017, reports surfaced that Cruise's micromanagement led to tension with co-stars like Russell Crowe. Crowe, who is known for his straightforward personality, was reportedly frustrated by Cruise's hands-on control over nearly every aspect of the movie. It's clear that Cruise's need for precision and excellence can sometimes clash with the creative freedom that other actors or directors might want. But is this perfectionism the reason behind some of Cruise's past Hollywood feuds? His competitive nature has also been linked to his intense desire to always be at the top, which can alienate those around him. Brad Pitt, who worked with Cruise on Interview with the Vampire, has hinted at their differences, noting that Cruise's need to always be the best sometimes left little room for collaboration or relaxed camaraderie. Could Cruise's single-minded focus on being perfect actually drive people away instead of bringing them together? While his perfectionism has undoubtedly contributed to his massive success, it's also clear that it's not always easy to work with someone who demands such high standards. Is Cruz's perfectionism ultimately a blessing or a curse? For some, it's what makes him a Hollywood legend. For others, it's a source of tension that might make him a difficult person to collaborate with. Hollywood's polarizing view of Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is one of Hollywood's biggest stars, but his reputation is anything but straightforward. While many fans admire his incredible talent, work ethic, and dedication to his roles, others have a very different view of him. What makes Tom Cruise so polarizing in Hollywood? Is he a beloved icon, or is his fame built on a foundation of controversies and clashing personalities? For decades, Cruise has been both a box office powerhouse and a figure surrounded by intrigue. His dedication to performing his own stunts in films like Mission: Impossible has earned him admiration from many, establishing him as a fearless actor willing to risk it all for the sake of his roles. However, his perfectionism and intensity on set have also sparked frustration among colleagues. Reports of Cruise's micromanagement style and controlling behavior have made some question whether his on-set attitude has alienated those around him. Is his drive for excellence creating unnecessary tension in his relationships with co-stars? Another reason for the divided opinions about Cruise is his outspoken involvement with Scientology. As one of the most high-profile members of the Church of Scientology, Cruise has often faced criticism for using his celebrity status to promote the controversial religion. His public support for Scientology, combined with his past rifts with co-stars like Brooke Shields and his divorces linked to the church's influence, has caused some to view him as arrogant or out of touch. How much of his personal life is shaped by Scientology? And has it negatively affected his Hollywood career? Despite the controversies, Cruise's career has remained remarkably strong. His movies continue to gross billions, and his star power remains intact. However, there are still those who refuse to work with him due to his strong views and demanding nature. While his supporters praise his commitment to perfection, others feel that working with Cruise can be exhausting. So, is Tom Cruise a misunderstood genius? Or is his fame simply a result of Hollywood's willingness to overlook his flaws for the sake of box office success? The real question is, how much longer can Cruise maintain his reputation as a Hollywood legend in the face of growing backlash? Will his polarizing nature eventually take a toll on his career, or will he continue to dominate the industry despite the controversy?